Sunday, the 3rd of November, the 2nd of November, 2025. Welcome back to Astro Insights. Thank you for being here. I'm your host, Mel Rose, and this is Astro Insights, your week ahead in astrology review or preview, I should say. And then after we get done previewing the week ahead in astrology, we're going to go ahead and do a tarot card reading for this week as well. So, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. And without much further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get into this week's astrology. So starting out this week, we start with the moon completing a cycle through the zodiac and moving on into Aries today. That happens today, this evening. No, this morning. It happened around 9:40, so not long ago. And now that the moon is in Aries, this is a time when in our bodies and in our personal lives and in our feelings, in our private experience, we feel a sense of initiative and a desire to take action. So there's that part of today. And then another thing that's happening today is that Venus is making this square to Jupiter. So when we have aspects to Jupiter, it can be positive or negative. It doesn't have to necessarily be negative, even if it's a challenging aspect like a square. But when it comes to Venus and Jupiter together, these are both of our benefics lesser and greater. And so having them in a square condition, it just it gives me a vibration of over asking, of calling in too much for biting off more than we can chew. So that's the energy we're coming into the week with. Please be careful not to bite off more than you can chew this week. You know, if you have plans already, let's not try to add any more plans. We have a lot of transition coming up in this week, a lot of planets actually shifting signs. And, you know, we have a lot of like really things happening really easily this week. So we just want to be really careful about what we're asking for and what we're committing to, what we're giving our time and our energy to as we move into this next part of the year. And speaking of moving into the next part of the year, happy Halloween. That was just yesterday. Happy Samhain to everybody. Basically from the end of October to the next new moon, which is the 19th of November this year, we are in a period called Samhain. And this is traditionally just like the gateway from the autumn into the winter. Okay, so we're passing into the nighttime part of the year. And this is the time when, you know, we really think of the veil is thinning between the world of the living and the world of the dead. We're able to, greet our ancestors. We're able to celebrate the people that we have loved and lost. And this is really a good time for just turning in within ourselves and sort of reckoning with our own losses and letting go of the stuff that we no longer need to hold on to from this past year. And so that's the energy we're coming into the week with. Tomorrow is Monday, November 3rd. And, Monday, November 3rd is the day that the moon is in Aries. It makes a conjunction to Chiron, and Chiron is conjunct to Eris. So they're all going to gather up there. This is our personal feelings in combination with this desire for problem solving or healing, and also in combination with a little bit of frustration, a little bit of extra irritable drive to get those problems solved. Okay, so that might be a kind of intense feeling that comes up for us today and tomorrow, especially. Also tomorrow, Mars is completing its trine to Neptune. And so I'm going to use the word trine a lot of times today, and I just want to say trine is generally seen as a positive thing, but what it does is it sort of adds lubrication to the situation. So whether things are going well and it eases things going well, or things are not going well and it eases things not going well, that's kind of up to us how we're going to use that ease of intuition. We've got this grand trine in water signs right now, so we've got intuitions are speaking to us really loudly. You know, we've had this really heavy presence in Pisces since Saturn and Neptune moved back into Pisces together. So this grand trine in water signs is really activating Jupiter is in Cancer. It's our desire for more. It's our desire for more connection and our desire for more support and more love and more prosperity even. But that's in combination with the way that these changes that we're going through feel. That it's in combination with the sort of back and forth thing across Aries and Pisces that is happening. So we're feeling the feelings, and we have the intuitions coming for us. That's working very well for us, and it's a really good time really to be having the heart to heart conversations that you need to be having. It's a good time to be having to be saying what needs to be said, because it's really easy to make those to sort of reset and stabilize those emotions when it comes to our interactions with other people. It's also a good time, again, the sun is in Scorpio, to be turning within and trying to stabilize our emotional relationship to ourselves and the things that we are dealing with, the personal challenges we're dealing with at this time. So that's Monday. That's Mars trining Neptune, and that activates that whole grand trine in water signs. It's really going to be affecting us all week and all month. So remember that the emotions are high, okay? And there's this feeling right now that there's really, that there's that Stevie Nicks, or is it Fleetwood Mac song where she sings, "There is magic all around you, if I do say so myself." So um, understand that there is sort of magic all around us right now because of this grand trine in water signs, and because Neptune is involved there, and it's about our imagination, but Mars is involved there too, and it's about our desire to take action. So it's a good time to take action on imaginative impulses, like, oh, I think this will really work if I take action on it right now. Okay, now there's a lack of clarity, so we might not really understand what the outcome of our actions are going to be. Okay, so always use your powers for good, correct? But also understand that you can act on impulse this week, and especially tomorrow, Monday, and possibly have some really positive outcomes. Just ease on in there. On Tuesday, the moon moves on into Taurus, and that precedes the full moon in Taurus on Wednesday. But on Tuesday, the moon moves on to Taurus, so this is a time for us to get really grounded in our physical atmosphere, to make sure that we are feeling physically comfortable and stabilized. And then also the Mars is going to move on into Sagittarius on Tuesday. So that's one of the many transitions that's happening this week. Mars just yesterday was in Scorpio, being strategic, doing its best sort of under the radar work, and then on Tuesday it moves on into Sagittarius, and the efforts become a little bit more erratic. They become a little bit more scattered. Mars is going to move on into Sagittarius and then almost immediately oppose Uranus. So that's a disruptive vibe. Mars is assertiveness, and Uranus is like surprise. So it's a bit of a disruptive vibe, and it's fire and air. So it's disruptive in our communication. It's disruptive in our ability to plan and collaborate, and it's disruptive in the actions that we're making. So we want to, measure twice, cut once when it comes to Tuesday. Also, because it's Mars in Sagittarius and then opposing Uranus, and they're both in relationship to Neptune, again, that magic that is in the air. This is the time to say what needs to be said, get it off your chest, do the actions that need to be done, really prioritize what's right in front of you, what pot is boiling the hottest right now. Go ahead and prioritize that and go for it. It might not be easy to stick with a plan on a day like Tuesday, all right? But you can definitely see what can be prioritized and go for that next. And then on Wednesday, we have that full moon in Taurus. It is the first full moon after the what do I want to say? It's the first full moon after the midpoint, Samhain, which is the midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. So this is the first full moon. It's in Taurus. This is another vibe for trying to stabilize and be grounded, feel physically secure and comfortable and safe. And also, it's a good vibe for trying to keep it simple. Let's not do any complicated stuff with this full moon. It's not the most powerful full moon, but it is a good full moon for, sort of establishing like this is my place, this is the turf, physical or security wise, this is the turf that I'm bound to defend, and so I'm going to make myself feel very strong and comfortable here. That's what we want to work on with this Wednesday full moon in Taurus, the culmination of practical prospects, the culmination of comfort, of groundedness and ease. And then coming up on Thursday, the moon is going to move on into Gemini. And after it moves on to Gemini, it does a bunch of stuff. It conjuncts Uranus, it trines Pluto, it opposes Mars, it goes sextile to Neptune. Lots of stuff in our personal experience. I expect Thursday to be a little bit of a highs and lows and ups and downs, or just a lot of different things happening to us in our personal experience. Okay, it can be tough, it can be exciting, it can be a little bit volatile. On Thursday, again, the word disruption comes in. So, Uranus being involved there is again, sort of upsetting the status quo and asking us to, to stay flexible and to stay in the moment as we move through these changes. So that can be kind of a tough day, definitely an exciting or interesting day coming up on Thursday the 6th. Also that day, Sun is making an aspect to Neptune that gives us a little feeling of being reality challenged, a little bit easy to get fooled, especially in our work, social, and civic life. So be really careful, ask the questions, double check. Remember, we are in the shadow precursor to Mercury retrograde, which comes up at the end of this week. So you definitely double check. Make sure you have your correct answers before you go ahead and fill out the form, right? Also that day, Jupiter perfects its trine to Saturn. That's part of that big grand trine in water signs. So we're having those emotions stirred and that desire for more, confronting the limitations that are the real limitations that we face, and how we dissolve the limitations and the boundaries so that we can get that bigger, better that we're looking for. There's a little bit of that tension there, but that's a trine. So it's really almost like we might be able to resolve that problem very easily. It might happen so quickly and easily that you'll be just like, whoa, I didn't even realize I was going to solve that problem today, but there we have it. So that's Jupiter trining Saturn. Like really, we're looking for a way to grow in our health and our well-being and our emotional maturity and our connections with our loved ones. And that Saturn in Pisces is saying, okay, well, this is what you need to break down in order to do that. That's coming up on Thursday the 6th. And then also Venus is moving on into Scorpio that day. So Venus, who has been in Libra, which is one of her favorite signs, one of her favorite places to be, where she's very powerful and very attractive, moves on into Scorpio. And Venus is not as powerful in Scorpio. It's a bit of a weak position, and I'll tell you why. Because Venus is like the attractor beam. It's pulling in those things that we need and desire. And Scorpio is very sheltered, very protective, and very internally resourced. Okay, so it's just not the best match of vibrations for Venus to do what Venus does best. But what it does do is it gives us an opportunity to turn that attractor beam in on ourselves and see what we can do to draw out of ourselves the qualities, the actions, the words, see if we can draw out of ourselves the kind of person, that we know that we can be, draw out of ourselves that authenticity that we can bring to our interactions with other people that make those other relationships more enriching for us. Okay. So that's Venus and Scorpio. We're going to draw our authenticity out of ourselves, or we're going to reflect on how we draw things into ourselves. We're going to work on pulling out the best of ourselves so that we can be the best of ourselves as we enter the winter time and as we are really beginning to rely on ourselves and one another in the winter season. And with that Venus moving into Scorpio, our feelings are very deep. They're very personal to us. We're not as connected to what other people are feeling. We're more connected to what we are feeling. And we might not care to negotiate very much at this time. this Venus in Scorpio is going to make a combination with Neptune and with Uranus that says, we've got to have something's got to give. We've got to have an imaginative change come about, in the way that we're drawing in the attention that we want, so that something gives, and we can open up and again be that more authentic person in our relationships to other people. And then we move into Friday the 7th. And on Friday the 7th, Venus is going to perfect a square to Pluto. Okay, this is about powerful hidden feelings that are still being stirred. And remember, this whole week and this whole month are about emotions being stirred and what we can facilitate to happen, what kind of progress we can facilitate out of those emotions being stirred. So it's wise right now to notice those very deep, profound feelings that are coming up for you. Well, Venus has just entered Scorpio and then moves immediately to square Pluto, which is the modern ruler of Scorpio. This is internal transformation that we are looking in. Okay, so we have these powerful feelings. They're probably very personal. They're feelings we might not have shared with anyone or with very many people, or we might just struggle to share them properly. And it is wise to notice those feelings, but to sort of, let's say, curb the expression of them, okay, in the places where they confront power. We are very much in a mode of saying what needs to be said right now and doing what needs to be done. We do have to express truth to power. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't express all of our deepest rage and discontent at this time. But what I am saying is that there's rage that is constructive to express. There's rage that is destructive to express, and we have to destroy things in order to create. And then there's rage that isn't going to help anything. Okay, so let's keep that stuff, that part, a little bit more personal and internal, and see what we can do with it on the inside. Okay, because this is our rage against the monsters in the world. This is the rage against our own monstrosity, and it's interesting. It's an interesting opportunity to confront the power within you, right? To bring out a more authentic expression that will be more destructive, constructive, helpful for the rest of us to move forward. But we are really still in this very we're really still in the middle of the review. Okay, we're really still in the back up and take a look portion. Okay, so whatever it is that you feel like you might be able to get started, whatever you feel not just enraged about, but very passionate about right now, whatever it is that you see needs transformation, whatever it is that you authentically need to express to power, you can do those, and you can be working toward that change, but the change is still unfolding. It's not happening today or this week. Okay, it is still unfolding, and we want to look forward to next spring to see those things actually start to find their purchase and unfold. Okay, so then on Saturday the 8th, the moon moves on into Cancer, and it makes more aspects. We have moon in Cancer is a moon at home. It really encourages us to go home, to focus on our bodies, our own personal support and well-being, and the loving support and well-being of those people that we keep close in our home. It's also a time, again, moon is going to trine Venus. Is that a trine or is that a square? It's going to invite us to pull back again. And I just said that before, pull back again, and maybe communicate a little bit less and protect our energy. Okay. Part of the thing about, about expressing your truth to power, and part of the thing about expressing this rage and discontent that we feel is that, it's vulnerable. It's very vulnerable. And we do have to be vulnerable to achieve the changes that we want. We have to be vulnerable and open to being changed by the moment. And we also have to be vulnerable enough to show others what needs to be changed. But there's still a vibration here that says protect your energy a little bit, okay? Be vulnerable. Let people know that you're in need. Let people know that you are outraged or intimidated or discontent or passionate about something. Let everybody know. But understand that the more you give them, the more they have to work back against you. So express the discontent. Don't, but do protect the core of your feelings. Okay, do protect the very foundation. How else am I going to say that? Okay, so also, another thing that's happening at this point is that Mercury has slowed down. It is about to go retrograde. So we really want to choose our words wisely. We want to think twice before we speak once. We want to open our mouths and say exactly what will work to express the feeling, but not to go overboard in trying to express the feeling. And then on Sunday the 9th, Mercury goes retrograde. Mercury retrograde first in Sagittarius, and then it's going to retrograde back into Scorpio, which should be really fun. Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, we're really just, it's a good time to get honest with yourself. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is going to be a good time to be really honest with yourself, because it's the internal conversation is Mercury in Scorpio. While Mercury's in Sagittarius, you're going to be having that conversation with other people. You can be socializing about it. Understand that Mercury retrograde is helpful. It can be useful, especially if you take it as an opportunity to slow down, to stop trying to push things forward so much. Take some time to reflect and review. Take your time getting where you're going, physically and in all the other ways. Okay, so don't push up, and it's also a good time when Mercury is retrograde, starting this coming Sunday on the 9th of November, to tie up any loose ends you have hanging out there. Okay, that's part of being able to move forward, is making sure that old business is completely done, right? So it's a good time to reflect and to take care of old business, tie up loose ends. You've got about 3 weeks from the 9th of November to do that before we move on into December. And then after December is 2026, and we move on into the spring and things start moving forward again. So this is the time of year for reflection and review. This is the time of year for soul searching. It is the time of year for connecting with our history and our ancestors, and calling on the strength and the intelligence and the traits that they used to survive and thrive and build lives, calling on them to help us find a way, especially through what I would consider to be the toughest part of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere, when it gets deadly cold outside. And, if we haven't prepared very well, then we might not do so well. So here we are entering the winter season. Happy Samhain. Welcome to the nighttime part of the year. Welcome to the celebration of the ancestors. Welcome to the Grand Trine in water signs, where we're feeling our emotions and our intuitions. All of that information, all that connection information is being shared very freely. It's very watery. It's very well lubricated. Okay, it's very slippery, and that means that sometimes things happen very easily that you didn't mean to happen very easily. You slip on some ice or on some water. And then that means also other times that things that we need to happen very easily do happen very easily. So understand that the emotions are facilitating everything right now, and really try to be focused on what it is that you need to get across to yourself and to other people. Okay, say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done. Try not to overindulge in saying what you want to say, okay? And try not to just overcommit or promise more than you can give at this time, because that's definitely in the astrology right now, and we want to really be careful to give ourselves plenty of time and space to move through this growth cycle that we're in. Okay, that's the astrology for this week, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here for Astro Insights. Thank you for checking in on your regular current astrology, because as you know, as above, so below, we look to the way the planets move across the backdrop of the stars to give us some insight into what kind of energies and vibrations are affecting us right here on Earth. And with that information, hopefully, I find that I can navigate my own life with more success and prosperity. And I hope that you find that as well. Thank you so much for being here. Now I'm going to move on to our uh, tarot card reading for this week. And I generally pull two cards, and I generally kind of make this up when I get here. And that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm making it up. One for the full moon in Taurus. Okay, so the full moon in Taurus, full moon is about culmination, and in Taurus, we're reflecting on what we have culminated for ourselves in terms of personal physical stability and security. Okay, our feelings of safety, our feelings of groundedness, of being connected to the resources that we need, reliably connected to the resources that we need. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card for that full moon in Taurus that's coming up on Wednesday. And we got the Seven of Coins. I like this card. It always makes me think about tomatoes. I always think about a tomato plant, and that's probably because I've grown tomatoes a few times. I haven't done a lot of vegetable gardening, but there's a point when you're growing those tomatoes late in the summer when they look so red and ripe and juicy, and they look like they're ready to go, but they still need like a week. They're gonna stay red. They're gonna keep getting redder and juicier, right? So you can't harvest them too soon. If you pull them too soon, they won't have the value that you want them to have. You have to wait. And so it's sort of like stick with the game. You might feel a little bit bored. You might be dreaming about what you're going to do with those tomatoes down the road. And all of that is fine, but you've got to stay in the game, stay attentive to the task that you're trying to bring about. Full moon in Taurus. I don't see how anything could be more appropriate. Just stay in the game of your personal security, okay? Keep working to find that safety and that groundedness, okay? Especially in your life and in your home, in your private life. Grounded and secure and stable feeling. That's what we're looking for, and we've got to stay in the game. You always have to have that on your mind. It's not something you get to forget about ever, worrying about, your stability and your safety. So just stay in it. Don't try to put it behind you. Don't try to set it and forget it. Be attentive to what feels like personal security. Okay, that's the message for the full moon on Wednesday in Taurus. And then what's the other thing? Oh, the big thing that's happening this week is the Mercury retrograde at the end of the week. So that Mercury is going retrograde. It's in its preliminary shadow this all week, okay? So if you're already having hiccups in communication, hiccups with your technology, hiccups in being able to drive around, that's got to do with Mercury going retrograde or being in the retrograde shadow. This Sunday, Mercury will go retrograde in Sagittarius, and I just want to get some guidance for us for that. Mercury retrograde does cause those hiccups in communication, collaboration, and our ability to sort of get around and get information around. Nine of Cups, wish fulfillment. Okay, so this is a lot of seeking satisfaction and finding it. So I think Mercury retrograde, when the plans start to fall apart, when the plans need to change, because often the plans do change when Mercury is retrograde, when somebody needs to move the plan to a later time, or when somebody needs to do something else with the planned time, whatever that is, I want you to think about what's going to satisfy me out of this situation. When things are changing, when things are in fluctuation, when it comes to, the plans that we're trying to make, or the communications that we're trying to make, or the place we're trying to get in our car, or on our bicycle, or running, or whatever it is, then we want to think about what's going to be the most satisfaction we can get from the situation. Like, what's going to satisfy me about this situation? Say I wanted to have lunch with you tomorrow, and you called me up and you said, look, I can't have lunch. I have this thing that came up for tomorrow afternoon. I can't do lunch until 4 p.m. And I know that I'm having dinner at 7 p.m. and I know exactly what I've already planned to make. So I have to ask myself, what's going to give me the most satisfaction out of this? Can I just invite this person over to have dinner with me at 7 p.m.? Do I put lunch off until tomorrow? Do I just try to get them on the phone and have the conversation with them and not worry about getting the lunch date? Right? So we have options, and I'm gonna explore my options. I'm gonna decide which one will feel the most satisfying to me, and that's gonna be the next one that I put out there. Okay. So often when we are interacting with people and we're trying to make plans or we're trying to rework our plans with somebody, it's sort of like, oh, I don't know, what do you want? Well, I don't know, what do you want? And both people wind up like compromising things that are very important to them just to get to this place where they can meet up. Um, and and then it's not as satisfying because we both have sacrificed a lot of stuff that was important to us before we ever got to meet up. So definitely, look for the most satisfying route to solving that problem. Okay, at this time. That is the astrology and the tarot for this week. So for the full moon in Taurus, stay in the game. Stay in the game. Keep working on your physical sense of safety and security. And when it comes to Mercury retrograde, when things get confusing or turned around or have to be reworked, go for the plan that is going to make you feel the most satisfied, okay? Suggest the things that are going to give you satisfaction. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here on a Sunday morning. I sure appreciate you and love you all very much. And I will catch you in the next video, either this Thursday or next Sunday or any time in between. Make sure you press notifications so you know when we're coming on. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks, friends.